What's going on, everybody? My name is C4. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're here for a brand new Madden 26 realistic rebuild of the Miami Dolphins. I don't know if there's a team in the NFL that needs a complete reset more than the Miami Dolphins, so what we're going to do with the help of a 2026 and 2027 draft class of your favorite college players, we're going to figure out a way to hit that reset button here on the Miami Dolphins, turn things around, and build them into a Super Bowl contender within the next 5 seasons. So my plan all along was to rebuild the Dolphins on Monday morning. And about 45 minutes ago, the Dolphins traded away Jalen Phillips to my Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Philly has 2 third-round picks, our own, and a third-round pick from the Jets from a Hassan Reddick trade. Sucks for the Dolphins that they weren't able to get that Jets third-round pick, which is probably going to be a top 5 pick, and you get the Eagles third-round pick, which is going to be a bottom-tier pick in that round. But I don't think this is like a classic Howie Roseman finesse move. I think there's a trade that works out for both teams. I'd kind of go like B+ grade. It's a wild card because it all relies on the health of Jalen Phillips for both sides of this. If Jalen Phillips is healthy and gets back to playing at the high level that he did under Vic Fangio, that's going to be an absolute win for the Philadelphia Eagles. If he struggles to stay healthy with that injury history, which is probably as bad as any player in the league, I look at this from a Dolphins standpoint. They just traded away a guy that they weren't going to re-sign because of that injury history, and they get a for sure third-round pick when if you just let him go into free agency, you'd hope someone would overpay, and then you'd get that like big-time third or fourth-round comp pick. So it works out for both teams, but from the reality of a realistic rebuild standpoint, Jalen Phillips would have definitely been a player I would have tried to build around in this rebuild. 82, we don't really have to worry about injuries and stuff like that in this rebuild. So you're just looking at a 26, 82 ascending dev trait pass rusher. Now we're going to try to find one of those in the third round, I guess. So take a look at this roster. Now, I had to start this franchise. When you start any franchise in Madden 26, here's a little tip for you. You have the option to start with pre-existing injuries on or off. And because I am going from a realistic starting point, it would make sense. You would think to start with injuries on. But there's currently a bug right now where players, you can't just, for whatever reason, get them off IR. And as long as that bug exists, I recommend just starting your franchise modes with pre-existing injuries off. And then like what I did here with Tyreek, he's obviously the most notable player. Just move them off your depth chart and just act as if, like for the rest of this season, they are injured. They're not going to be at your disposal, and then you get them all back when you start next season. And I mean, starting with Tyreek Hill, what's his future? He's still the highest rated player on this team. I don't know where the regression could potentially hit this offseason with him not playing, but I think it's probably going to be in the best interest of this program that once he returns due to injury, aka the offseason, we try and get whatever we can get. Now, I don't know if that's going to be trading into maybe Kansas City and reuniting. I don't know. But I think if I'm resetting and rebuilding the Dolphins, Tyreek Hill can no longer be a part of this team. And we go with Jaylen Waddle as our guy going forward. Still only 26, 85. We did a Dolphins rebuild last month, and I did kind of remember that, like, just trying to make him wide receiver 1 didn't really work out. So I think we got to view him as like a wide receiver B, like a 1B. But you clearly need that 1A, so that's going to be something we're going to try to prioritize, but still a very talented playmaker nonetheless. Achane's an absolute stud, definitely a blue-chip player if we're looking at who is going to be on this team come year 4, year 5 of this rebuild when we're trying to win. I think Waddle will be here. I think Achane will be here. I think Patrick Paul at left tackle could be here. Big Jonah, the offensive lineman, what was he, a second-round pick? Now that they moved him back to guard, I think you could see a little bit more upside there. But for the most part, offensive line needs a lot of work. Tight end room, you had Darren Waller for a couple minutes. He looked decent, back on IR. So tight end is a position that we're going to have to fix. Wide receiver, outside of Jaylen Waddle, is a position we have to fix. And then you have the quarterback. How is he still a superstar depth? There are roster updates that happen, and Tua still being a superstar is insane. We're going to move on from Tua. Like, I don't think there's any... I think with the injury history, on top of the fact that it's just not working out, we see whatever value we can get ahead of the draft and try to maximize his value. Then when you look at the defense, it doesn't get any better. This team is terrible. At least from like a Madden standpoint, it's even a hard sell for that. You look at the second, you get Rasul Douglas, Jones, Brents, Kohu's on injury, but you get him back. But like that's still a secondary room. 5 years down the line, are any of those guys still on the roster? I don't know. Defensive line, you'd like to think Kenneth Grant, we can develop him into something. But like Zach Seiler, very underrated player. Where's he going to be in 5 years? He's going to be regressed. Probably can't count on him long term. Look at our pass rush. Well, we just got rid of Jalen Phillips, the most upside pass rusher we had on the team. So now the pressure comes. I like Bradley Chubb's kind of a Band-Aid stopgap. I don't know how Matt Judon's still a superstar, but same kind of role. Stopgap, Band-Aid, not going to be here long term. The pressure then falls on Chop Robinson to develop into a player. And through 2 seasons, he's looked exactly what we thought he was coming out of Penn State. Big-time athlete, far from refined, needs a lot of work. And shocking, the Dolphins don't know how to develop players on the defensive side of the ball. So that's where we're at with Chop Robinson, because we need him, looking at the state of this roster, to develop into a double-digit sack guy. Outside of that, I mean, the linebacking core is, not terrible, but not the best. You got Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's great still at this point, but it needs to go on the side. And then there's a chance, I'm recording this on Monday, trade deadline's tomorrow, that this rebuild could still age and be incorrect because there could be more trades. I think you could see Bradley Chubb be on the way out. I think you could see, Minkah, he didn't ask for this. Minkah could be gone. I could see him potentially getting traded away. I mean, Waddle is still up there in trade rumors, so there's a chance that this will be slightly inaccurate, but there's also a chance that Jalen Phillips is all they're going to do, and they're going to try and figure out if they can kind of salvage a season here. But from a rebuild standpoint, Kenneth Grant, Minkah, Chop, and this is best case scenario. We have 3 guys on defense who I think could still be here. Offensively, Achane, Waddle, Patrick Paul. So 6 players total that I think could be a part of this team and a factor for us when we finally start to rebuild this thing around and compete for titles. That is terrible. We have our work cut out for us. Let's finish out this year from hell, get a high pick, and do some damage in the draft. So I'm going to be proactive and say that maybe there's could be more trades coming. Bradley Chubb can still get after the quarterback, and I'm looking at a team like the Colts, who with their 7-2 start, they might want to try to find guys that can help, continue that into when football matters in November and December. They need pass rush help. They're offering us Jalen Jones, 75, still on a rookie contract. I'm interested there. More interested in the fact that we get a 4th-round pick, 2026 4th-round pick, as well as a future 7th. Done deal. And I will say, just entertaining. What could we get from Minkah Fitzpatrick? That would be realistic. We wouldn't get, a lot of these offers. I could see that, but then that lets things look a little weird between the Niners and Ayuk, so maybe that's trading a headache for another one by getting rid of Tyreek Hill and bringing in Ayuk, so I'd rather not. Ooh, the unrealistic trades in here, if we just didn't care, we have a lot of options I would very willingly try to take right now, but oh my God, there's no way. Okay, so Philly how's Jair still an 86 X Factor? The Eagles are going to be so overpowered in Madden. We just traded a 7th-round pick for Jair Alexander. Oh, okay. That would actually, there's probably the only one that might make sense, because I think Dallas Turner's kind of struggled to get on the field for Minnesota. So I guess they could try to cash out there because they desperately need safety help, but I think we'll keep Minkah. I'm not in the business of making unrealistic trades. It's a realistic rebuild. It's in the title. So we're going to start right away because we're at midseason. Who is going to get a contract extension now? Shout out Benito Jones. Remember back in the day, he liked one of my rebuilds that we brought him in. That was pretty badass. Just out of principle, Ethan Bonner. Just in case there's something special there. It feels like at worst, he's a glue guy, right? Got to keep the glue guy in the building. The Darren Waller, I don't know. If there was re-sign interest there, I might be also interested. There could be mutual interest. The fact that he couldn't care less. Same with Rasul Douglas, fan of the channel. Jack Jones, 27.77. Kohu, 70. I think we can give Kohu, once he comes back, really nice nickel. I think we can work with that. We save our bucks. See if we can make a couple more moves, free up some salary cap, and maybe potentially be big spenders in free agency. So at the end of the year, we go 4-13. Our only other wins were over the Saints and Jets. So I guess the good news is that we're not the clearly worst team in the league, but I would have been fine tanking and losing out to give us the best pick possible. Well, that couldn't happen, but we still get the number 2 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. So taking a look at our stats, Tua still played like a top between 15 and 20 quarterback, 3,500 yards, 23 touchdowns, 15 picks. I just hope at minimum he keeps the superstar dev trait so it gives us the maximum amount of value when it comes time to trade him in the offseason, which 100% is going to be our plan. Achane went over 1,000 yards with 7 touchdowns. He's a guy, like, if I'm looking at all the dev traits, I'm kind of surprised he's not a superstar, man. This guy is as dynamic as any running back in the league. He's as influential to, like, I think, you know, Tyreek and Waddle could go down, and it wouldn't hit as hard as not having Achane in this Dolphins offense. So I think it'll be cool to get him over 1,000 at some point. And I really hope in the sim they still utilize him in the passing game as much as they utilize him in real life. Another thing we didn't really talk about, Malik Washington in here has a dev trait. Second-year man out of Virginia, 75-star dev. That could be a guy we may be able to develop and count on into like a cheap, affordable, long-term wide receiver 3. Like if we can go out and get like a true successor to Tyreek Hill and then have Waddle as the wide receiver 2, or again, that 1B, and Washington could be our wide receiver 3, I've seen worse wide receiver rooms win Super Bowls here in Madden. Also, shout out Jaylen Waddle on a terrible team. Still, much like Achane, going over 1,000 yards with 7 touchdowns. We need him to develop into a consistent 1,000-yard playmaker. Defensively, got some nice tackles there across the board. We got 8 sacks from Chop Robinson, so that's promising. Good rebound for him. Hopefully, he can continue to build on that. And on the interception front, Minkah Fitzpatrick leads the team with 3. And sure, Jordan Brooks, linebacker of the year. Cool. That could be a free dev trait. We'll take that. And in the year of the bad news, maybe the realistic news that we needed, Tua loses his superstar dev, which, I mean, I don't even really, and I probably should know the answer to whether or not a dev trade or not has any influence on the kind of trades and how players are viewed in trades. But, you know, we're going to be trying to sell Tua's stock while it's at an all-time low. Very much like the Dolphins will be in real life. We did get a couple depth traits on the defensive side of the ball. Is Jordan Brooks, who got linebacker of the year because you said he had an insane amount of tackles, is now up to a superstar. And Minkah is up to a superstar X Factor. I ain't complaining. I hate to do this, but I do think there would be a team. There would be a market for Tua on the rebound. I think the Rams could make sense. Now, the reason why I use the Rams pretty much anytime I do a rebuild that I need to trade a quarterback is because they have an insane amount of salary cap, so they could take it on. But I think, you know, if Stafford did retire, I think the Rams could view Tua as like, McVay's cocky enough. Like, I can get him back. I could salvage something here. We're not going to get anything crazy. We're going to get a way down the line 2028 4th-round pick for Tua. Unfortunately, can't make the Tyreek Hill to Kansas City reunite happen. They are massively in the red right now. I think kind of similar to the Tua trade, there's not too many teams that have enough salary that need a wide receiver that could take on Tyreek Hill. So I do hate trading within the division, but the Jets' second need is a wide receiver. I think if their plan is to go get a young stud quarterback with their top pick, why not give them the best chance with Garrett Wilson and a Tyreek Hill? So we're able to recoup a next year 3rd-round pick for Tyreek. Probably could have got more, but I think with Tyreek's off-field and stuff, realistically, if they do trade him, I think they'd be very lucky in real life to get much better than a 3rd. So we'll always go with the side of undervalue our players to make this rebuild a little bit more challenging. I will say we magically now have $100 million of salary cap to work with, so that's pretty sick, outside of obviously the dead salary cap that comes with moving on from Tua and Tyreek. We're also able to get a way down the line 3rd-round pick for James Daniels, 78 dev trait guard, still has 2 solid years of his prime, probably would cap out like 81, 82. But for us, again, one of those players that has value right now, and by the time that we're ready to win, it's going to be much more appreciative for this roster to have that 2028 3rd-round pick, which is going to be 2028, a generated Madden draft class, a.k.a. I'm going to be able to do something with that 3rd. Find a stud. I'll take that value all day long for the Packers, who are desperately needing a right guard. Now, I'm going to keep Minkah. The only other kind of veteran that could have some value that we could move on from, that I'm willing to move on from, would be Zach Seiler here on the defensive line. Just not a lot of value that I think makes a whole lot of sense for a guy that's kind of, you know, popped off out of nowhere as a Dolphin. I feel like he'd be kind of our homegrown guy. Got to keep some vets on this roster, so Seiler will stay a Dolphin. All things equal, trying to trim some fat on the roster as well. Jason Sanders been a real reliable kicker, but not a huge discrepancy in the fact we can save another $4 million. Appreciate your service. So looking at free agency, I'm going to start. Isaiah Likely looks interesting. No interest, and I've severely paid. I guarantee I have considerable more money on the table than the Commanders or Panthers, but I think we are very much going up against the zero interest. I got to swing with the fences here. I'm not going to be able to draft every single position that I need fixed. So we have Evan Neal, 2574. There's no dev trade anymore. Don't love the per year on a guy that's clearly you're bringing him in, see if he can resurrect his career a little bit, but We'll try. So going in, well, I got a couple just back. I need a long snapper, so I'm going to try to get one for 5 years so I don't have to worry about it. Miles Murphy's just an athletic stud, the high round pick, never worked out on the Bengals. Maybe it's just a Bengals thing. But for us, Isaiah Likely, no chance. We get Evan Neal, the one player the contract kind of disgusted throwing out there. But now we have to look forward to him potentially resurrecting his career. And the reality is at 25, I get him on a 3-year. He should be high 70s by the end of that contract, and a high 70s starting guard is not the end of the world. So take a look at the final mock draft. We have Mendoza going 1, so the top quarterback off the board. It currently has us mock leading TJ Parker, which we need so many things. I don't think there's a wrong pick for number 2. I honestly started this rebuild, no idea kind of where I want it to go. And certainly still don't have any more clarity. I was obviously going to do Mendoza because we've done a realistic rebuild with Mendoza. But I think we do have to consider quarterback. Dante Moore. LaNorris Sellers, I think, is in this class as well. Ty Simpson, another big name, but he's in next year, the 2027 class. I really don't want to wait. I remember when we did this Dolphins rebuild a month ago, we did decide to wait. I went with Tanner McKee. Showed a little Eagle bias. That did not work out. So I do think we do want to grab a quarterback here sooner rather than later. And to get the one we want, we might have to get it at 2. Looking at who we have scouted. Mendoza, second, third round talent. Dante Moore, second, third round talent. And LaNorris Sellers, a project. Ooh. Okay. So Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana goes at pick number 1. Pick number 2. What are the Dolphins going to do? And I think we have fun with this one. We do have Dante Moore. I am a big fan. I think Dante Moore is the best quarterback in college football. But with the scouting, I think with Mike McDaniel, with his fascination with just athletes, shown by Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, Achane, LaNorris Sellers is far from a sure thing. But I think if you are coaching for your job, you swing for the fences. And that is exactly what Mike McDaniel is doing. They got one more year. You got one more chance to prove that you could be a head coach in this NFL before you get branded, an utter failure. And you're going to get pigeonholed as an offensive coordinator for the rest of your career. If you can hit on LaNorris Sellers, people might just think and forget that Tua thing was a thing of the past. Those contracts were bad. And you think of the peak of the Tua years. When that offense was humming, imagine you're doing that with a freak of nature like LaNorris Sellers. So a big-time boom or bust. All risk, all the reward is also still on the table. The new franchise quarterback, question mark, for the Miami Dolphins, LaNorris Sellers. Number 32 in true value, getting him at pick number 2. We get 95 throw power, 91 speed, 93 acceleration, 90 agility. This kid could be special, or he could be the next Anthony Richardson. That is going to be what we need to find out here with Mike McDaniel. All right, we are now on the clock here. Pick 2. We got a lot of picks. Day 2, day 3. What do we got? Well, wide receiver could be a need. Mekhi Lemon, USC. Carnell Tate, Ohio State. Denzel Boston. We're going to try and resist, Nick Harber-Cheese. We'll get one, but we won't get both. But I think Mekhi Lemon certainly would be interesting. He could come in and develop into that wide receiver. Now, I think we get Lemon, because he's not like a slam dunk first-round pick, it might put the onus on Jaylen Waddle to develop into our wide receiver 1A, and then Lemon could be our wide receiver 1B. We also need tight end help, and we got Eli Stowers, Michael Trigg, Claire. Jolly also could be. I like Eli Stowers. He's a big-time athlete here out of Vandy. Probably need, honestly, you can make the argument, probably need a tight end more than we need a wide receiver. And then, any rebuild we do from now on, it's just like, what if we're terrible? What if this thing doesn't work out, but maybe we show promise? Jeremiah Smith is in next year's class. There are stud wide receivers next year. So we could punt on wide receiver, get our tight end now, and then figure out the rest later. Offensive line, seeing what we got. We got Jake's, I hate that. I mean, if I was doing an offline franchise, all the names would be shown. But that's Jake Slaughter from Florida. He'd be an awesome get for us. Dunker at tackle. That could be nice. Pass rush help. We have David Bailey, Dennis Sutton. We do need an edge rusher. Corner, you got Jair Hill from Michigan. Thiedemann at safety also would be a good get. I'm honestly, we probably need an edge rusher more than we need a tight end. So I think David Bailey from Texas Tech still being on the board, the speed rusher, is the right call, and hope that a tight end is going to be available at our next spot. So he ends up being 22 in true value at 34, but no dev trait. Damn. So we're going to be aggressive here. I'm going to send, we have 2 3s and 2 4s. I'm going to send our highest third. So we're going to move up from pick 66 to 50, basically jumping up 10 spots, but it is jumping from the 3rd to the 2nd round. We're also going to throw in one of our 2 4th round picks and a 6th round pick to move up with the Ravens. There has been no run on tight end yet. We're going to hope. Come on. Don't be Stowers. Okay, there we go. At pick 53, with Eli Stowers still on the board. Yes, sir. That's what we're looking for. That is a franchise tight end in every sense of the word. 47 at 53. We get the dev trait. We get a 6'4", 90 speed, 94 jumping machine. That's going to be an absolute game changer with this offense. Now, I just think purely from a value standpoint, I think we go back to South Carolina. Jalen Kilgore is an awesome kind of hybrid player. Corner nickel, kind of like Minka. And I think having 2 of those versatile DBs in our secondary, very surprised he's still here in the 3rd round. Maybe there's a reason, but I think there's value here. Absolutely. 1st round grade. Number 29 in true value at 67. And he rolls with a dev trait. 6'1", 211 pounds. Nice. That's a good get. That's the last 2 picks, Stowers and Kilgore, make up for the fact that David Bailey did not have a dev trait. And we're going to go back and tackle. We have Blake Miller here, right tackle. Right now we have Austin Jackson, who is farther from being a starter and closer to being, I want to get that contract the books. Blake Miller has B pass block, B run block. That is still really good value, almost top 5 in the bench press. Definitely, I think actually was 3rd at the combine. Good value here for the Clemson tackle. 82 in true value at pick 87. And we get another dev trait lineman. Let's go. Now we're in the 4th round. I'm looking at wideout here. Couple interesting options. If we want to go just pure speed, Barian Brown could make a lot of sense. But Bryce Lance, Trey Lance's brother, has actually been killing it at North Dakota State. The name that's interesting to me, though, is Elijah Surratt. One of the most productive wide receivers. Been killing it in Indiana. Fernando Mendoza went 1st overall. That is his top wide receiver. Okay, wet fart, wet fart, wet fart. Let's try this again. Very talented playmaker, linebacker for Indiana, Aiden Fisher. Maybe we can do a little bit better. Okay, there we go. At least that's at value, 134 at 130. All right, so here's a look at a draft recap, and all things considered, 2 players below a 70. That isn't a win. And the 2 that are, they're 69. No absolute wet farts of picks. Even if, dev traits could have been better. We finished up with a punter. Fisher 69, Surratt 69. That's kind of low, man. Surratt 69 is, I'll be shocked if, as a rookie IRL, if he is that bad of a rating. Blake Miller, though, 71 dev trait at right tackle. Kilgore was immense value, maybe the value pick of the draft in the 3rd round. 74 with the dev trait. Stowers made the big trade to get aggressive to go get him. 73 with the dev trait. David Bailey, no dev trait, but still a 75 pass rusher with plus athletic traits. 87 speed, 90 acceleration, 91 agility. I think we're going to put him in the right position to get on the field early, potentially challenge for that defensive rookie of the year nod, and get that dev trait increase. But with the number 2 pick, this rebuild, I think way back, my first ever realistic rebuild was Lamar Jackson on the Miami Dolphins way back, I think it was Madden 17. We have an equally electrifying playmaker with equally as many question marks whether or not he can develop into a franchise quarterback in the NFL. Can history repeat itself? I freaking hope so. Let's go. LaNorris Sellers in training camp. No idea what to expect. I don't know if he's going to be a gold medal guy. I don't know if we're going to struggle to get silver medal. But we're going to do it here live. Make sure we don't get any dumb sacks, which tend to happen sometimes, especially when I go live comm here. There we go. We got silver with 20 seconds to go. And then we throw a worm burner, which definitely doesn't help. Oh, bullseye! Give me the goal! Double bullseye! Another worm burner. Gets this, doesn't matter. I think that's actually might be our highest score. I don't think I've ever got a 40K. So, great start for LaNorris Sellers at how excited I am and what he could be for this franchise. But again, on a friendly reminder for how we handle the realistic rebuilds in the current state of Madden and the XP being on the overpowered side is every player has to be upgraded as a scheme fit. So for LaNorris Sellers' case, far and away his lowest scheme fit is Field General at 68. Every point is going to have to go in there, and there's going to be plenty of times that we upgrade this, and his base overall will not increase until we get him to a perfect scheme fit. Now going to year 2, this is the first time we've used our 2027 draft class. Shout out to Sports Gaming Rosters. His draft classes are the ones that we are using for 2026 and 2027. For a snapshot at 2027, we are not going to be in the quarterback market. A couple nice quarterbacks in that class for sure. Headlined right now by Simpson. I think wide receiver could be in play. Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, Cam Coleman also has a lot of hype. So there's plenty of options there if we want to pursue. Offensively, definitely some linemen. I'm not going to, gas up these linemen. Like, that's really the position we want to go. I feel good about our pass rush. If we suck, though, and the fact that David Bailey did not get a dev trade, and if he finished this year without a dev trade, a Colin Simmons, Dylan Stewart could absolutely be on the menu for us going into next season. Linebackers, another position that we could absolutely be aggressive in finding a lot. Sammy Brown from Clemson looks like an absolute stud. Secondary looks like a great clash for corners, headlined by Leonard Moore's one of the best corners I've seen in a minute. But we got plenty of options here. But no real idea where our big needs are going to be. So let's just see where LaNorris Sellers can take us here in year 1. After all the trades in the draft, here's a look at our team as we gear up for year 1 of this rebuild. Offensively, we bring in Evan Neal in free agency. We're going to give Miller the start at right tackle over Jackson. Stowers at tight end. LaNorris Sellers at quarterback. We're going to bump Washington up on the depth chart there to wide receiver 2. And hope that, we understand that this is definitely not going to be the ceiling of this offense because, it's a work in progress. Everyone's going to grow and develop, and we're still missing, another game changer at wide receiver. We're still probably missing a couple pieces on the offensive line. I just want to see, show me the potential. Show me signs of the potential of what the ceiling of this offense can be. Or if things suck, we're probably going to be moving on from McDaniel. Defensively, well, we got David Bailey and Chop Robinson as our pass rushers. Excited to see what they can do. Kilgore and Minka at safety look pretty nasty. Our corner room overall doesn't have a lot of big-time name value, but I think maybe we can get a player or two here to pop a dev trade. Things will look pretty promising going into year 2. All right, after a pretty slow start going in Green Bay, I was like, all right, we lose to the Jets. We're probably going to lose to the Packers. Beat the Packers. We put up points. Again, I'm not expecting this team to be good. I'm not hinging whether or not we can blow up this offense and find a new offensive mind on whether or not this year is good. I just need to see the promise. Couple picks, don't love that, but 3 touchdowns, 300 yards for LaNorris Sellers. Okay. Achane can get involved. Now, there's going to be the argument, are we going to get the scrambling numbers to maximize LaNorris Sellers' skill set with a Mike McDaniel offense? That remains to be seen. But, Jaylen Waddle, Eli Stowers, the rookie with a touchdown there, which is pretty sick. Defensively, David Bailey getting after the quarterback. Things you like to see in a win. All right, nice little 2-game win streak. We are 4-5. On 4. Hey, let's keep it alive. Can we upset the Bills? 8-1. Let's do it. Let's get to 500. Shock the world and the division. Come on. Oh, it's thinking about it. It's thinking long and hard. God damn it. Well, 4-6. We've already equaled our wins from a year ago with, the backstretch of the season to continue to improve. Looking at contracts. Well, we're now in the rebuild now. Who wants to be a part of this? $191 million. So really, if we can make it happen and or throw enough money at it, we should be able to retain any and all players that we really want to. Well, I think it's very easy to say that I want Achane locked in for the rest of the rebuild, and that is a ridiculous value contract to get him signed on. We got Minka, who's honestly, this would have been one of those scenarios that if this was a red, 0 interest, I might have to read the room. He's kind of he's down. No state tax, all that stuff. Loves living in the good weather. We have Jordan Brooks. Not a lot of interest. I love the fact that he only wants a 2-year deal. Coming off linebacker of the year. I think there's a very reasonable scenario. That 2-year, $22 million is worth it. 20. I'd probably go up to 25 over 2 seasons just because he is linebacker of the year in the eyes of this game. I think there's value there for Jalen Jones. 24. Something like that. Like, he can still develop for us. No, dev traits kind of limits his ceiling a little bit, but the state of our secondary, we can't really be picky. And I think of all the guys, I'll go with him over someone like Juju Brents, who's older with the dev trait. I think that we can get there. I think Aaron Brewer, this would be a guy that if he was interested, I don't want to overpay for 2 years. Jackson, we kind of went off the books anyways. I mean, how much more would I have to go? Could I get you if I just round this up? This would be my one and only offer for Brewer. Okay, cool. I can live with that. Now there's been the last 2 upgrades that we've had for LaNorris Sellers because we are going into scheme fit. He has not gone up overall. But we just got a little bit of that cheese situation here. It's 3,500 yards passing, gives us almost 25,000 XP. Again, please, Madden, have it. Don't have to rewrite the script. Just go in the numbers, beep, boop, beep, click, click, get your tippity tap on the keyboard. Have it. 50% less. It'd be generous. And it'd at least be in a good spot because now I have 6 skill points that we're going to pump all into scheme fit, and LaNorris Sellers is probably going to be like an 82 overall. All right, so as we upgrade him, we're at 81. I think we have 1 more left. Which brings him up to an 82. The good news about LaNorris Sellers, ladies and gentlemen, superstar dev trait. So at this point, let's just put the C on his chest. We got our franchise quarterback. So at the end of the season, I mean, the good news, LaNorris Sellers' development is ridiculous. We can only do what we can do. We're in a good spot, but Mike McDaniel, the trust that, like, this offense would still look good, and we could try to figure out maybe we need to look at firing and see if we can get a better defensive scheme in. But we finished with the 16th ranked points, 19th ranked rush, but a top 5 passing yards, which I don't think many would have expected with the LaNorris Sellers at the helm, which is good. We go 5 in yards, 13th in touchdowns. We have got to cut down on those interceptions and sacks. 50, almost, well, round it up, 60 sacks and 16 picks. We need to pretty much have both those numbers. But we know there's reasons why. Obviously, LaNorris Sellers is a project quarterback, so you're going to, especially if we're throwing the football this much, there are going to be turnovers. It's the cost of doing business. But we do need, and we absolutely can improve the offensive line so that the sacks come down, and we may be able to find that, like, true wide receiver. I don't want to say true wide receiver, want to disrespect Jaylen Waddle, but you know what I'm saying. Like, the Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle duo at its peak worked. We just couldn't do it no longer with Tyreek Hill. We need to find our new Tyreek Hill to pair that with Jaylen Waddle. Bad news is, I guess, is we won enough games that, like, obviously I'm not going to be selling the farm here to get Jeremiah Smith, but we will have targets at wide receiver for sure. That was the group that I focus scouted for our scouts this year. So we'll have a lot of knowledge there. Achane going over 1,000 yards, which I like to see. LaNorris Sellers' scrambling numbers obviously are not realistic, but, you know, our scheme is kind of our scheme. And I probably think like Eagles offense would be what we'd want. I don't want Ravens because Lamar Jackson never puts up good passes. I'm like the best offense to get good scrambling numbers and have a high ceiling passing, I think, is Philly. But I don't know. We will see. Jaylen Waddle crushed it, though. Got the challenge of can he? Because the last time we did a rebuild, Jaylen Waddle was struggling to go over 1,000 yards. We committed for him as our wide receiver 1. Never played like it. If this is what we have in store, I'm in. 70 catches, 1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns. Washington with a respectable year. 850 yards, 5 touchdowns. Westbrook Achane was solid. Stowers for a rookie, also very solid. Almost 700 yards and 5 touchdowns, assuming that he can build on that, and that's not his ceiling. I think we're going to be in a good spot there. Defensively, Jordan Brooks, 3rd in the league in tackles, and the reigning defending linebacker of the year. I mean, he might be right in that conversation again with another 4 TFLs, 4 picks to his name. We get 10 sacks, 14 TFLs for the rookie David Bailey. He was a little bit of the wet fart because it's a 2nd-round pick, no dev trait. We might have got him that dev trait. 9 sacks from Siler. That's why we don't get rid of all of our veterans. Keeping Siler, keeping Minka, I think adds a lot of value to our defense. 7 sacks, Chop Robinson, not bad. 6 sacks on 10 TFLs for the nose tackle. Kenneth Grant is pretty badass. Definitely need to get those interception numbers up, though. No fans or buts about it. I guess for what it's worth, early in the rebuild, Jaylen Waddle runner-up for Offensive Player of the Year in the AFC. Sellers way down there. Number 4 at Offensive Rookie of the Year. Stowers at number 6. But normal dev David Bailey gets Defensive Rookie of the Year, which should put him in an outstanding spot to get off that normal dev trait. So taking a look at our team, we have, as far as dev traits are concerned, LaNorris Sellers, superstar. That's a win within itself, especially with how he growed and developed. We have Miller 76. He's going to take a little bit of a minute for his development. It's the downside, right? The plus is you get great development out of LaNorris Sellers with the insane XP, but Blake Miller, we have a right tackle. We got a long way to go because we had to spend our points in Agile, which, I mean, what was he, 74, 73? And we had about like 6, 7 upgrade points. And it barely went up, but that is the grind that we have kind of decided to bring in and kind of balance so we don't have with like an absolute super team. And honestly, it puts maybe a little bit more value on drafting scheme fits because it's a house rule that's in effect, so guys that are more natural scheme fits might make sense to kind of prioritize those guys. Defensively, well, on the defensive side of the ball, as far as dev traits are concerned, Kilgore, hidden dev, he is a star. Jordan Brooks, superstar. We get the double dev trait on David Bailey. Drafted him as a normal dev. I think we got to put the C on his chest here. How did we get the double? What did he get it for? Right there. Double defensive rookie. So I think he got like defensive rookie of the year in the AFC and then overall defensive rookie of the year. But the very, very rare double dev trade increase, sick. And it's always worth noting, anytime we are doing a rebuild and the team within our division wins the Super Bowl, Buffalo finally gets it, smashes the Dallas Cowboys, so the pressure is on for us to figure it out. So I fired our defensive coordinator. Had to see who was available. We got Aaron Glenn and D'Amico Ryans. Let's go see something here. So the Jets defense, from a sack standpoint, in the area of what we were able to generate. Their interceptions, however, is considerably better. Or we have the Texans, whose interceptions are pretty good. Their sack numbers, however, are not great. Aaron Glenn, come on down. So we're going to switch our defensive playbook. We're going to go with the New York Jets, which is a base 4-3. Okay. Honestly, looking at the defense, it's not going to change a whole lot. You know, it's not like last year's game where their like edge rush terminology wasn't, correct. Right? We're going to still have our 2 primary edge rushers. I mean, maybe the only player that might get hurt a little bit is Kenneth Grant because he's a nose tackle and you don't always see nose tackles in a 4-3, but I think he's athletic enough. It's not going to be a problem. So as we start the year, I'm going to... Actually, I think for the state of our salary cap, I'm actually going to accept the 5th-year option on Chop Robinson because I need to see if he's going to be worth what would be a very expensive contract extension. Because if it's going to be David Bailey's our premier pass rusher and Chop Robinson's going to be a complimentary option, that's going to severely change the price point that I have in my head about what he's going to be worth to re-sign him. I think getting him on a 1-year, $20 million, we'll call it that, to see if he can get double-digit sacks. Do we have the scheme now with the Aaron Glenn coming in to get 2 edge rushers with double-digit sacks? If that's the case, I'll pay whatever the slightly increased price it would be if he pops off next year by having him play on his 5th-year option. But I think there's still a lot of question marks whether or not Chop Robinson can become that guy. Because David Bailey in year 1, he's that guy. And we'll keep, very cheap. We'll keep Juju Brent still as a dev trait at corner. This has turned into one of those rebuilds where we had a house rule in our regular rebuilds that if free agency sucks and we get a situation where we have an insane amount of salary cap, we can look at making a guilt-free trade. Bend the line of realistic or not. It's still early, but when you get free agency classes like this, where literally there's complete dog shit available, and you have the amount of salary cap that we have, because we're going to be operating this rebuild on a rookie quarterback contract, ergo we can be aggressive. I'm not going to do it this year, but if we get double dog shit free agency next year, I think we're going to be exploring the trade market to try and, fill out our roster. In terms of needs, we need that game-changing wide receiver 1. Does it exist? No. I think if we didn't have Malik Washington, I'd be interested in a Booty. I'd be interested in a Marvin Mims, but it's just those guys aren't needle movers for our wide receiver room right now. So I think if you're not going to go get that wide receiver, which we very well may try in our first round pick here, other needs would be like if there's a BPA on the offensive line, but there's not in free agency anyways. You look at defense, could another linebacker for sure. A corner, outside corner for sure. don't have a lot of, like, huge needs, all things considered. But we're also BPA in a lot of different positions we absolutely have to consider. Unfortunately, with this free agency class, BPA simply is not something that exists. There is nothing, dude. Like, need a linebacker, all right? So you got Overshown, bridge player, Dorian Williams. Like, I'd love if one of these guys had, like, a dev trait. Like, can I get a guy that's close to 25 with a dev trait? I would overpay. And no, we get freaking Landon Roberts or Rasul Douglas. Just not what we're looking for. Taking a look at the final mock draft here. Jeremiah Smith going at 1, Dylan Stewart at 2, Ryan Williams at 3. So pretty much all the names I was like, that'd be cool for us to get. Completely out of our price range. For us, we are projected to get Ellis Robinson, corner from Georgia. Wouldn't be disgusted by that. He's a good player. But if the argument is like, who would we trade up for? Leonard Moore would be, I'd probably call and see what Houston wants. I could totally live with Leonard Moore. But if we want to stay at 10, is there anybody after this? Like, Loma would be sick at tackle, but I kind of think we can grow and develop our tackle. Cam Coleman, I'm going to focus scout him. I think he's an absolute playmaker at 15. That could make sense. Get a couple tackles there. Sammy Brown at linebacker, if you kind of view him as like a hybrid type, which he is, that could make some sense. But, it's one of those years where we didn't suck bad enough to kind of get the clear blue chip names that you'd want. So I think for our 3 private workouts, I want to get a peek at Cam Coleman. I think outside of that, I don't hate like Ellis Robinson kind of being where we want to take a peek. And I think let's do Leonard Moore. I think he'd be the one guy that might not cost an arm and leg. It might be worth it to trade up at that number 5 spot, depending on the information we get about Robinson and Cam Coleman. All right, so I guess the good news, we had this issue before, and I don't know if it's going to kick back up once we get to the generated draft classes, but in our last realistic rebuild, every player that we 100% scouted showed up as a top 5 talent, which is a bug I can't even imagine how that's a bug. But at least that doesn't exist in this class because Cam Coleman, we have him as a legit first rounder. And then we scouted our top 2 corners here. We have Ellis Robinson as a first rounder, Leonard Moore as a top 5 talent. Just call the Texans, see what they would want for pick 5. They want Minka. No, not really liking that. They would like our 2 first. Nope. Or our 6. No. All right, I guess we're gonna stay put. So it's going to be a note to self. When we are doing a realistic rebuild, and we have this 2027 class, you're going to want a top 5 pick. You're going to want Smith, Stewart, Williams, Leonard Moore, quarterback, Sayin, Tyson. It's the good and the bad news is LaNorris Sellers wasn't that bad. The bad news is that he wasn't that bad, so we're picking at 10. We have, it's coming down to 2 guys. We got them right here in the same picture. I think Loma would be an awesome pick. Simmons would probably be BPA if I'm just going off of assumed value. But, like, we feel, we bring this in, it's just a foregone conclusion that we're not going to bring back Chop Robinson. And it's all about, asset valuation. We're like, if Chop Robinson pans out, that's kind of a wasteful pick, even if Simmons might be BPA. So we have Ellis Robinson, who would walk into being a starting corner for us, I think. B-zone, C-press, C-man, B-catching, 6 feet tall. We're at a 4.36. 3-cone, 20-yard shuttle is exactly what you want to see. Elites up and down. Or we have Cam Coleman, who would be able to come in and potentially be that wide receiver 1A, 1B. Now, I think it's fair to say Jaylen Waddle can be our 1A. We need that 1B. Cam Coleman, 6'2". A-catch in traffic, all B's, former 5-star recruit. He ran a 4.41. Has elites in acceleration, agility, and jumping. I don't know if I have enough time. If I, second round, the opposite. If I don't go him, who am I going to have in the second round? Could have Wingo. Could have Jacoby Lane that I could live with. If I go second round corner, we have Zabin Brown, Boo Carter, Hood, D'Angelo Pons. I'm thinking because we have LaNorris Sellers, let's get someone that can help the feature of this rebuild be successful. Maybe cut down on those interceptions. Cam Coleman. Dang. Number 20 in true value. But we do get a dev trait, 6'2", 93 speed, 98 jumping, 95 acceleration, 95 agility. We can work with that. That's a good pick. All right, so we got to pick 42 in the 2027 NFL Draft. Now let's go take a look at some of the corners that are available. We still have Nate Frazier, could be the top running back in the class. Ahmad Hardy's a stud. We got good, but I mean, Achane's our dude. We got Wingo out of Texas. I believe he was a 5. He was like a fringe 4-5 star recruit. But I mean, we're good there. We're good at tight end. Offensive line, fine. Could go guard still. What do we have at guard? Yeah, a couple Fs. Usually like to avoid Fs. So like Shamarad Umara from Tennessee could be interesting. Wendell Moe on the other side. We got some B's and C's. Ooh. Something Ba with an illegal first name with that A run block looks interesting. But for us, I think we would have to consider Christian Miller from Georgia. There's good value. We would have to consider, what are the cornerback? Keith Abney, Arizona State. F-man. Ooh. Well, look, we got D'Angelo Pons, A-zone coverage. He's an L&L nickel. And with Kohu already on the roster, that kind of seems like a little bit surplus. Des Ricks, A-catching. Ugh. That's the worst thing about this, man. Blind draft picks. I know Abney has a lot of hype right now. What do we got on Pons? I like the zone. We are a zone defense. I think it has to be our guy. I'm a fan too. Indiana, probably the best DB Indiana's had the last 2 years. 19th in true value at 42. No dev trait. 5'9", 175. Great athleticism across the board. Damn, normal dev, huh? I don't know what's so illegal about this guy's first name, but we're going to go with Motherfuck Ba, I assume. A run block, A impact block, at guard, still need a guard. 58 at 74, and he has a dev trait. Let's go, fuck you, Ba. All right, with our second third-round pick, we have Kenyatta Jackson Jr. I think at this point, looking at a roster, in case we don't want to sign Chop Robinson, have another pass rusher that could potentially be a developmental guy. 6'6", 266, B finesse, C power, C tackle, C block shed, top 5, 40-yard dash. I'm interested. This could be not terrible. And it ends up being not great. That's what traits that stand out. Des Ricks has A catching, good tackling, decent athlete, 6'1", 195. Damn it. I don't know. We get generational kickers in these classes. But look at this guy, Patron Woodring. We need a kicker. A awareness, A kick accuracy, only solid kick power. It's not elite. But, yeah, it's a good side. No dev trait, but top 5 player in the class. So take a look at our draft recap. Feel not as good about this class as I did last year, because last year, obviously, we had almost all 70s. But I think we did somewhat decent. Woodring's an 80. We get an 80 kicker late. We get a lot of good athletes. Some new scheme fits to fit our defense. Jalen Sneed ended up not being a great pick here to Notre Dame. Rick, 69. Kenyatta Jackson, 68. This is Travon Ba from South Carolina, 73. Pons, 77. And Cam Coleman, the first-round pick, 76 with a dev trait. He's going to be a day one starter for us. And hopefully, he needs to develop. Obviously, starting as a 76. Probably expectations. I'm going to say star dev. But develop into a go-to guy here. And we'll see if we can get 2,000-yard receivers. Cam Coleman, Jaylen Waddle, LaNorris Sellers. Throw in a better year, year 2 of Stowers. Let's get Achane more involved. This could be a scary offense. So at midseason here in year number 3, we are 3-4, which, it's interesting, right? It's not exactly where we want to be. It's not terrible. Still plenty of time to turn around. Got some winnable games on the slate. But now it's the elephant in the room when we look at contracts. We have so much money. If I want to keep you, you can be kept. So I think I want to continue Patrick Paul's development. I think he'd be our franchise left tackle. 78-25. Like, this is a ceiling, like, in mid-80s by the time I think we're ready to go compete. So, like, I'm good with that. And as many homegrown guys as we can keep. Malik Wash, another one. More so because he's homegrown, 3-year, 21. I think turning down that offer, I'm good, bro. Best of luck elsewhere. Other than that, there's just not much there. We'll figure out what we're going to do with Kenneth Grant's fifth-year option when the time comes. Come on, free agency. Give me something to work with. So I'm going to be honest, with the switch to the defense here, I was kind of like, is someone going to break out? Someone going to start standing out on this defense? And in a very contested win, very tight, legit team, Kenneth Grant gets 2 sacks on a 7-tackle AFC Defensive Player of the Week performance. Off of that, we have 2 skill point upgrades, which the big XP gain there comes Defensive Player of the Week, and getting almost 10,000 XP for 5 sacks in the season. He's finally putting it all together. So at the end of year number 3, we go 9-8, our best record of the rebuild, and I kind of like some of our rankings. I think defensively as a whole, we'll throw it up as growing pains. But at least our rush defense was a stellar unit. It can only go up. And I like the fact, stick with Mike McDaniel worked out. We have a top 10 offense, both essentially passing and rushing. Looking at these stats here, LaNorris Sellers with 10th in yards, 10th in touchdowns, and we cut the interceptions in half, going down to single digits. So as long as we can continue to tread like this, that's going to be good. We shaved the sacks down a little bit, and that offensive line is only going to get better. Running the football, got 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns for Achane. Up the rushing touchdowns for Sellers, but it would be, I think in a perfect world, we probably could double those rushing yards to kind of get a realistic LaNorris Sellers NFL experience. But, he's becoming more of a pocket passer. That's what he needs to do. Receiving 2,000-yard receivers. Cam Coleman, 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns for the rookie. That might be Offensive Rookie of the Year. That should be Offensive Rookie of the Year. Jaylen Waddle over 1,000 yards with 12 touchdowns. Washington was solid. Stowers was, I wouldn't want to go much lower than that, especially with, we traded picks to get him on the team. But not terrible. Defensively, Kilgore ends up being a tackle machine. Jordan Brooks up there as well. We get 9.5 sacks, David Bailey, 9 sacks, Chop Robinson, 8 from Kenneth Grant, 7.5 from Seiler, with our interception numbers still not being the best. I think for what it's worth, LaNorris Sellers is on the MVP shortlist. Quarterback award, Cam Coleman, runner-up for Offensive Rookie of the Year behind Julian Sayin, the new quarterback in Indy. An early award winner goes to the rookie, Peyton Woodring, the number 3 overall player in that 2027 class. So at least our kicking game is figured out for the rest of the rebuild. So looking at our offense, I think maybe a little hard done by on the depth chart. I thought Sellers could have easily gone up X Factor on the MVP shortlist. I thought Cam Coleman certainly would have gone up dev trade 1,000 yards as a rookie. Baugh as our dev trade player. Very similar to Miller, where Agile is our archetype for offense. These guys are absolute power, so their development is going to be slow until we get them up to a scheme fit. But other than that, kind of maintained our dev traits. Defensively, let's see. We got, maintained our dev traits. We got Minkah Fitzpatrick. Oh, is that a double dev trait loss? Only one, so he goes from superstar. But we gained a superstar on Kilgore, so that's sick. And we got Jordan Brooks, who's been an outstanding linebacker. Even though he is starting to regress, he is now a superstar. X Factor, wearing the green dot on defense. So we're going to get ahead of the Kenneth Grant contract. We're going to decline that 5th-year option and give him an extension next season because I think he is getting ready. Sky's the limit. Malik Washington is interested now. Okay, cool. We're going to do it live. No sneak peeking. We have well over $100 million of salary cap, and we're at a point in time where it's, if this free agency sucks, I think we start picking up the phones and see if we can make a couple trades. But let's be optimistic. Maybe we get a good roll. Holy shit. We did. Okay, let's digest this. So the bummer is, I think the big position I would splash right now, I still, even with Cam Coleman, if there was a stud wide receiver, and stud certainly is not Troy Flankin in this situation, I'd be aggressive. We have Joe Alt at left tackle. Now, I did pay Patrick Paul. We do have Blake Miller. There is interest here, though. And that could be an absolute game changer for us. Joe Alt at tackle. We'll see. Because I could always trade one of those other 2 tackles. I'm not going to cheese it and move one of them to guard or anything like that. But I would and absolutely could find a trade partner for one of them. Got Nolan Smith as a pass rusher. But, Chop Robinson, Played well, got 9 sacks, almost double digit, and we have David Bailey, so I don't really need edge. Don't really need anything on the defensive line. Could bring back Christian Wilkins, I suppose, just because Seiler is getting up in age a little bit. Kind of a win-now move, though. A couple win-now pass rushers also out there on the market. But I think where I want to get aggressive is corner. You got Nate Wiggins here. I'd go after Cooper DeJean, but I've already got Cooper DeJean. We signed him in our last rebuild. So Nate Wiggins is an interesting name to be on the market. 4 years. Like stylistically, I think we'll go player friendly and we'll round it up. See where that puts us. 5 years, $130 million. Wants to join the program. I think that's a good spot. Safety, I feel pretty good about our safety room now with Kilgore going up dev trade. So now it would come to Joe Alt. Again, it's a realistic rebuild. Realistically, if Joe Alt was interested, you probably would entertain an offer here. Because we could bring him in and, move one of these other tackles. I think you could flip Patrick Paul and or Miller here. You probably could get a 3rd-round pick in return. So I think what I'm going to do is at least offer Joe Alt just the offer. He's interested in the team. Let's go neutral, see where that puts us. If he takes it, we'll deal with the rest. If not, I'm not going to get in a bidding war. Our tackles, I'm fine continuing to try to grow and develop them. It's not going to be the end of the world. Look at that. We're quickly kind of falling down the picking order there. But we do get Nate Wiggins. That is a great get. Finally, a free agency that's worth the damn. Just get an idea where they think we're going. You tell me. Why don't you tell me where you think I'm going? They have us going a tackle, Doug Newsome. Probably not. Say, looking at our lineup right now, where should we go during the draft? I mean, Cam Coleman's up to an ace. I think we have our wide receivers. I think our offense is in a good spot. Could use center just because Brewer is at his ceiling, could start regressing, but I'm not going to go center in the first round, but there's a center second, third round. And we get a couple extra picks from when we were fire selling a little bit this year in this draft. I think center would be a worthwhile position to look at. Defensively, D-tackle's probably the biggest long-term need, I think, for the squad. We do have C.J. Hicks here at Sam, like a second linebacker, also could be in play, but I don't love drafting linebacker early. Minka Fitzpatrick is showing his age, so do we worry about getting a potential third safety, like a successor down the pipeline there? That certainly needs to be consideration. But I'm thinking big get, Seiler, solid, but at, 31? 32, I think there's a chance that if there's a real good-looking defensive tackle, pairing that next to Kenneth Grant could be a game changer and a needle mover for this defense. So I think for our 3 focus scouts, number 1 overall player, there's no chance. But let's take a look at Jenkins. We can look at Chisholm. And then I guess if there's like a top center, we could also take a little look, see if there's anyone that will get A pass block, B pass block, A run block, B potentially A there on Richards. I mean, these are all first round guys, so maybe we'll take a little look here at, let's do Harvey, because I'm not drafting a center at the first round. All right, good. The top 5 glitch is not here. And look at that. Harvey is a round 1 talent. DeMar Harvey from Alabama is A pass block, B run block. Certainly interested. And then we took a look at a couple of defensive tackles here, and either one of them is going to be nice. I wonder where they're going in the mock draft. Jenkins and Chisholm. Okay, let's see. Final mock. Jenkins is going 8th. Chisholm is going 9th, and we are picking. Ooh. Might have to trade up here. All right, so we made a trade up, and I did the realistic thing, knowing that pick, 8, 9, they wanted D tackles. So we had to trade ahead of the 2 teams that wanted D tackle to get a D tackle, which is the Titans. Now, the Titans at pick 7, their pick value is worth 1,500 points. Our pick value, pick 17, is worth 950. So we need to make up to make the trade worthwhile, but 650 points. I didn't want to give up a second-round pick this year because I think that's where we can get that first-round scouted center. So I gave a second-round pick next year. We'll say that's worth around, 400 of the 600 that we need. And then I threw in our 3rd and 4th round pick this year. Our highest 3rd and 4th round pick this year is we have multiple 3rd and 4th round picks this year. So it gives us just like a slight overpay for the value of the pick. Just enough to, hey, thank you very much, Tennessee. We appreciate it. But now the pressure is on that this legitimate first round D tackle is worth it, because D tackle is a position where, you might not get like first round talent, but you can always get a little bit of nose tackle cheese. But for me, realistically, I have my nose tackle. I don't want 2 nose tackles. Kenneth Grant's our nose tackle. I want, someone that's built like this, slightly undersized, that can be that interior pass rusher. And Eric Chisholm with that A power move, B tackle, C finesse, B block shed, the combine sub 5 in the 40-yard dash, 38 reps on the bench press, 3-cone, 20-yard shuttle. Athletically speaking, A tier, not S tier. I like this pick. Now it'd be, give me at least a dev trait. 15th at 7. But we do have the dev trait, so it's going to be a wait and see on what that dev trait is, if this pick was worth it or not. But I'm happy with that selection. Well, it didn't matter because Harvey got overdrafted by the Texans at pick 38. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So looking at the centers that are available, I mean, I guess it's not an absolute necessity, right? We're in a spot that somewhat privileged that we can go with Brewer for another year. Linebacker was another need. I don't know if we're going to be able to blind pick a linebacker here. Let's see what we got here. Don't know the zone, because man coverage doesn't really matter. You want to know the zone, of course. Got no zone coverage information on any of these guys. This guy looks weird, though. Spearman has A finesse move. B pursuit. He looks like the best tackling linebacker. Is he a good athlete? Yeah, I'd say he's not bad. Do we have any, like, freak athletes? 4.45 on Noah Palmer. Interesting. What do we have over here for letter grades? God damn, I wish we had some scouting. A tackle. Oh, there we go. But I mean, all these guys are ABs. Baldwin. Got Elite, great. Okay, I feel a little bit more comfortable going with this guy. I don't really have any other positions. I wish we were in the need of trying to like blind pick a corner, because this guy looks pretty good. A tackle, B zone, C man. No, all right, let's go. We'll go Caleb Baldwin. Don't hate it. Great athlete. A little bit better letter grades than the other linebacker. 78 at 49. But we do get a dev trait for the USC product. Now, he's not a scheme fit, but look at this guy. Now I'm just looking for BPA. Late 3rd round. Benji Baker. 3 A's across the board for pass blocking. And, I mean, combines change of direction. Got elite. I think we just go BPA. I don't care that he's UDFA or not. How many times have we wait and seed and the player gets sniped? 39 in true value at 94. Benji Baker. Let's go. Who's saying at some point he might not be able to move inside, play center, and be the center that we need? Now we're back in blind pick territory. We have Antoine Keys from Buffalo in the 5th round. A press, B zone, B catching. Great vertical jump. All right. See if we get some blind pick magic here. 136 at 145. Not bad. We need a long snapper. Just go heaviest. It's like, remember back in the day, this is what you used to do for punters. When punters, all things were equal, and you didn't get the information that we used to get. Whoa, not bad. Heaviest. 34, almost a 1st round pick at long snapper. Sick. So take a look at our draft recap. Couple, this guy here, Duval. Not the best. 75 on the long snapper. Bobby Rivers, not bad. Keys, 68. Baker, 74 with a dev trade. Baldwin, 72 with a dev trade. And Chisholm, a man worth a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round pick. 77. That's a little on the low side. I mean, it wasn't like a multiple 1st round pick trade, so my expectations are down a little bit, downgraded, but he better be a stud. Now we're not using realistic class anymore, so we can go like spoiler, see who else was in the class that looked pretty good. Number 1 player was a guard, Malone, going to the Bucks. Would have been a good year to get a fullback, Calvin Lucas. We got a center going 78. Where's the center that I want? That's really the only guy I want to go see here. Yeah, DeMar Harvey, 76. Shoulda, coulda, woulda been our 2nd round pick. I don't know if this still freezes your game, but if it does, I'm fine with it. Just a star. Okay, it's not the end of the world. And he's not a scheme fit at all. I'll just say this. I have no shame at all. If you know, you know. Take a look. Just look. Just take a look. So upon finding out certain information, we're going to go and take Mr. Baldwin, the rookie. And you are going to play alongside Brooks as our sub linebacker. Get you on the field as much as we can. So we've yet to get a 10-win season. That is going to be our minimum goal here in year number 4. I think playoffs, 10-win season, both those should and will be achieved if this team plays up to their potential. I think offensively, we're in a good spot. Defensively, we had Baldwin, who looks very promising. We had Chisholm. We made the big trade up at D-tackle to go get. Decided to see what he can do. And then we get Nate Wiggins, 88 starting outside corner in free agency. The big fish has been landed. This defense is better than where it was a year ago. The offense that was top 10 across the board is better than where it was a year ago. I want 10 wins and at least a berth in the wildcard spot. So at our bye week, we are 4-2, tied for first place. Achane, leading rusher right now in the league. Nate Wiggins, right up there with interceptions. So that's getting immediate return on our big free agency signing. Contracts. Well, we got a lot of money. Well, I mean, yeah, we do. So Jaylen Waddle, lock you in for the rest of the rebuild. 2-year deal, dunzo. Kenneth Grant, I'm in. I am in. Chop Robinson, that's a we will see. Jordan Brooks is at kind of that point of no return. And actually, I have a return point on Jordan Brooks in just a second. Kohu, it's been serviceable. Some of these depth DBs have been serviceable. Jonah Savinea, homegrown talent from that first draft class, rookie when we started this rebuild. He's developed nicely, $24.79. Not a brutal contract. However, again, we kind of got a de facto here to some of our rookies that we just pulled in. I think we kind of leave things open-ended in case we can spend big in free agency again. I think with Baker here, there's a logical successor on a cheap rookie deal. Honestly, if this is what we're going to do, let's just do that right now. We'll take he's 76, he's 79. Like, I think we can probably close that gap up by the end of the year without really a massive step back. But here we go defensively. So Chisholm, the D-tackle we traded up for, is a superstar dev. Sick. That long-term pairing with Kenneth Grant, especially with the contract extension for Kenneth Grant, that's going to look pretty. But the bigger get, and now with Jordan Brooks in a contract here, we can replace him with another X Factor. Caleb Baldwin, the blind pick linebacker at a USC. X Factor. I mean, that is very surprising. He had good letter grades, good combine, but nothing was like S tier. Nothing jumped out the page and said this guy was going to be even a superstar dev. I thought we'd just get another solid star dev player. But Baldwin has all the tools and traits to be one of the best linebackers in the league. So we're going to be able to save a little bit of money here and let Brooks walk. He is going to be our new stud. He's going to be our new quarterback of the defense. That kind of just leaves Chop Robinson as the only guy that I'm open to re-signing. We have so much money, but let's kind of see where's he at statistically right now. 9 games in, only 2.5 sacks. I'd say if he can get at least 8. I'll wait. Maybe it'll cost a little bit more if I wait till the end of the year. But if he gets 8 sacks, I'll give him a contract extension. We actually got a huge win here over Buffalo. 31-25. Not a lot of sim upset wins for this Dolphins team through 4 seasons. And it is LaNorris Sellers. 4 touchdowns, 300 yards. Get it? That's what we need to see, man, from our franchise QB. It's going to be tough, but we have a breakout. He is looking to become a superstar X Factor against the Baltimore Ravens. So let's go with top 10. I think he'd be a top 10 or 8 at quarterback. And I think he needs to show it in a battle of him going up against Lamar Jackson and the 8-1 1-seed Ravens. Get an idea of where we really stand in the pecking order of the AFC this season and really this rebuild. 9 points. What are the odds he got 500 yards? Nah, we just screwed the pooch on that one. Brutal. As we continue to get return on investments, 2-game win streak, we beat the Rams. Titans are the Titans. 38-14, but a defensive player of the week for Nate Wiggins, our big free agency signing. 2 picks, one of them being a pick 6. Very much deserved. Off of that win, we have a big upgrade here for the X Factor Baldwin getting 3 points. I'm going to guess 75 tackle, probably threshold here. Gave him, 15,000 XP, somewhere in that range. Am I right? Ooh, 100 tackles. So at the end of year number 4, we go 10-7. We make the playoffs. We get kind of like the bare minimum. Don't love how, for some random reason, our pass yards fell off a cliff. Like, we've been top 10 this whole time, and now we're magically not. And our defense still has kind of been the same. Not loving our defense overall. But we do win the AFC East, so we get our first divisional title in a very tightly contested division there. So that's sick. Achane, third leading rusher. Cool. LaNorris Sellers, 6th in passing touchdowns. Cool. We got and shaved off about half the amount of sacks we had Sellers' rookie season. Half about his pick. So, like, he is coming along. Happy with those numbers. Just weird that we're down the passing yards a little bit. Achane, though, popped off. Hell yeah. No 1,000-yard receiver, but, I mean, both Waddle and Coleman were productive. 11 touchdowns for Waddle, 10 touchdowns for Cam Coleman. Stowers' production, I kind of hate how he's hit his ceiling, given the fact that we did make a big trade to go get him. Love the rookie Baldwin, 145 tackles on the year. 9.5 sacks, David Bailey. 9 from Chisholm. 8.5, Kenneth Grant. I said we needed 8 sacks minimum to give Chop Robinson a contract extension. We're going to let him hit the open market. That's not saying I won't bring him back. We're going to have a lot of salary cap again. If he ends up being the best pass rusher, we'll let him, maybe we'll open it up to other teams overpaying for him, but I'll try to bring him back if the market kind of dictates that. But I love the rookie Chisholm there. D tackle with 9 sacks. It's a good interior. Nate Wiggins, 6 picks. Let's go. Pons with 3. Minka with 3. Eric Chisholm wins Defensive Rookie of the Year with Baldwin at number 2. And Nate Wiggins gets Defensive Back of the Year. What a free agency signing. So in the wildcard round, we get the 12-5 LA Chargers, who have the advantage offensively slightly, but other than that, we are a better team and a considerable difference, at least the talent that we have on the defensive side of the ball. Looking at the rankings, they are the number 1 offense, top 3 passing offense. This could be a shootout. So we're the home team. I don't have any expectation. I'd like to get a win because we're going into year 5. Super Bowl or bust is on the horizon. I don't really want to go into year 5 with no playoff wins, no playoff success. Again, this is 2 of the best offenses in the league. I'd like to think, and knowing the pieces that we have on defense, that they'll show up and give us a chance. But as of right now, this is no bueno. Hey, touchdown. Okay, we can have a busy 4th quarter here. Nope. Okay, no way, no worries at all. Going to the final year's rebuild with 0 playoff wins. No worries. So at least the Chargers didn't go on to do anything, but now the question is, like, what can we do to get this team over the line, to win 3-4? Like, I'm looking at it. I mean, I'm willing to make a trade, but, like, where does it trade? Like, how did Achane not go up a dev trade? Very surprised, because, I mean, he would absolutely benefit from having some superstar abilities. We lose the superstar dev on Waddle. Like, there's just, But, oh, did we get a game changer wide? Well, we have an 89 and an 88 wide receiver, right? Like, that should be more than enough juice. Defensively, Bailey superstar, Chisholm's a superstar, Baldwin's an X factor. Nate Wiggins makes the jump from star up to a superstar. I mean, we're going to be losing Brooks to free agency. We probably could survive with Hicks and Baldwin as our 2 primary linebackers if we had to. But, I mean, our offense scored 7 points. It's our offense that's the issue. I have no idea. I do not know how to fix this other than, like, another year worth of development. Our team is still 97%. Everyone will get better, and another full year of development certainly will help. But I don't know what the missing piece is outside of, like, just this Miami's offense sucks in sim. Zach Seiler retires after 11 years, which gives us some additional salary cap, which, I mean, we have $178 million of cap. I think we need to be aggressive. We got to figure something out. And also, we'll keep it within the realms of realism. like, I look at how that sim went down, our offense, that passing, we can't be 26th again. And why were we 26th this year? It makes no sense. We've been top 10 every other year. But the defense, like, can we bring in a different defensive coordinator? Is that what we need to do? Let's get rid of Aaron Glenn. Like, honestly, I might just bring back Aaron Glenn. D'Amico Ryans is there. Dan Quinn. Ooh. That could work. Mike Tomlin, welcome to Miami. We're going back to a 3, what is he? A base 3-4. Okay, let's do it. Now, we do need to think about, and I stated we've already lost on the Cardinals rebuild. We didn't win a Super Bowl. That I will return and do all failed rebuilds. We'll do like a little bit of like a second chance rebuild. So I can't just act all insane, right? We got to be conscious of the fact that if it doesn't put it all together for year 5, we will be coming back at some point. I don't want to be in a terrible situation. But I think declining the 5th-year option on Sellers and getting ahead of that deal makes a lot of sense. Chop Robinson didn't make the threshold for, you know, how much we want to throw in. But I do think, honestly, man, Jordan Brooks, if we go like 6.5, 4.5, I wouldn't hate running it back for a 1-year rental, $11 million. Still a superstar linebacker out there. With $167 million of salary cap, what do we do? Interesting. Very interesting. Jordan Mailata is another big tight name, but there's no interest there. And I like our tackles enough not to consider that. Defensively, there's, you know, Chop Robinson's there, but not an upgrade over Chop Robinson. That's, you know, meaningful. Like, we might have to just go back and say, hey, Chop, we'll run it back here, buddy. On the other side, we got Bosa. We got a couple, like, 1-year rentals. But I think bringing back Chop makes the most sense in this situation. At least put an offer in. We have the top bid. Linebacking core, again, we feel good, especially bringing back on the 1-year deal there. Secondary corner room. We did lose some depth in the corner room, for sure. Right? We let Jalen Jones walk. We let Kohu walk. Those are depth plays. Right now we got Nate Wiggins and we got Pond. So we can use another outside corner, which, you know, could be Noel Williams, but I also think we could probably draft one. First round, be aggressive, go draft one. Again, don't want to trade up a whole lot of picks. Actually, let me go double check. What's the corner situation like? Because we need to win now. And it might make more sense to get an expensive corner with our salary cap. We have Ponds, so we definitely need another outside corner. Could draft one, but if we want to draft one, that's good enough. There's no interest in Williams. That's a good player to bring in here. Like, if we round that up, where does this put us? 4-year, 58. This is at number 1, and then obviously I think we see what this can do. I don't know where he wants to join us. So we're bidding with the Titans. We just have so much money, but then we won't have so much money. I think keeping him on a 3, and then let's go like 20, 22. Something like that. 3-year, $126 million, almost a 99 overall. I can live with these funds if we don't win and we got to start whatever. The second rebuild, the rebuild of a rebuild with these guys on the books. So wow. Chop throws the middle finger at us. We get St. Brown, Noel Williams. We get our corner 2. We get a wide receiver 1, which, again, our passing offense being 26 out of the blue. This is the best way we could possibly fix it. Don't need to make a big-time trade. St. Brown's there in free agency, and with the style of player that he is, I don't really worry about age regression too much. So it now puts the pressure on us, though, to get an edge rusher, which, again, if you're thinking in terms of, wow, he goes to Seattle, you know, if there's a really good one in the draft or something like that, or we could probably bring in Bosa as a mercenary. Or Hunter's athleticism is aged a little bit better. So let's do that. 1-year deal on Danielle Hunter. All right. Let's go across the draft. BPA. But updated depth chart. We need a center. We need, wide receivers now. An absolute, like, we cannot have gone all in. There's no way any trade would have been yielding something better than 98. Yeah, it would be nice if you still had superstar and stuff like that. I think we probably will put him in the slot, see if we can get that dev trait back, which will help that contract. You know, if we can get up superstar, you feel a lot better about the money that we threw out there. So we need a center, starting center. Should be relatively easy to get. We have our 2 D tackles. We have our 2 edge rushers. Could use BPA edge rusher, thinking, you know, I hate to think in a defeatist mindset, but if we don't win, Hunter's only on a 1-year rental, so we need an edge rusher there. Could go BPA linebacker as well, as Brooks is only on a 1-year rental. And Minkah Fitzpatrick's not getting any younger, but I'd rather try to get a starter than, like, you know, future-proofing some of these positions with depth moves. So let's get the best center we can, whatever round that is. And if it's, we can wait and see, maybe wait to the 2nd, 3rd round. 1st round, we go BPA. For our focus, gotta come take a look at the top 2 centers, and look at this guy. Thinking a little bit down the line with Minkah Fitzpatrick's successor, but a 1st, 2nd rounder. He has A awareness, A man, A catching. Interesting. So, not as interesting. He is a legit 1st round talent. And for the top 2 centers in the class, we have both legit 1st round talents. Now, the question would be, will they still be there in the 2nd round? Like, you know, off of ranking, they should be. Let's go look at the final. Hamels and Monroe. Are any centers sneaking into the 1st round? Because if they are, we might just have to say screw it. Hamels is going at 25. We're going to have to. Yep. Okay. I mean, because what are the odds? I've been bit too many times for us just to sit, like, in a perfect world, maybe we could grab that safety and then trade up in the 2nd round to get the center. I mean, we might be able to do if we want to risk it. Why not? But I'm going to have to, like, with this trade, probably have to trade for the 1st pick of the 2nd round, which is going to be a pain in the ass. But I think there's a shot that we'll be able to get that deal done. Because there's not, obviously, a huge discrepancy between these two. Hamels is A pass blocking, C run block. We get the double Bs here on Monroe. They both look very good. But the safety here also looks exceptional in Andres Sanchez, who's just the best of the 3. I mean, I don't think he was even getting mocked in the 1st round either. Kind of in a weird spot here. Oh, man. Do it. Let's do it. We'll figure it out. We'll trust that it'll work out. Sanchez, 21 in true value at pick 20. Fuck! All right, so we're able to get a trade partner. Washington kind of became surplus. But I mean, still a good player. 80 star dev, right side of 30. We threw in a 3rd round pick this year, a 4th round pick this year. We have 2 4ths this year, so we still have a pick in the 4th round. And then a 3rd round pick next year. I wanted to get a 3rd round pick in 2 years' time. They wouldn't do it. But we're able to make it happen to go get that 1st round grade center, which we need because we need a day 1 starting rookie center. I swear to God, please have a depth trait. If we get robbed, double no devs. 16th in true value at 33. There we go. Nice. Now, with the St. Brown, that might make things interesting in the wide receiver room. If we're going strictly BPA here, Cyril's slot with A catching. I'm kind of interested. 44 at 116. Of course, no depth trait. Because, of course, rating should be good, though. He'll be in the mid-70s. We got way down here. Pretty interesting corner. Looking at just like, you know, these guys. Pleasant and Verdon. Verdon's a scheme fit, so I think all things equal, I'm interested. Out of Alabama, 2nd fastest 40 at the pro day. 86 at 148. Of course, no depth trait. I actually might go get that other corner, too. All right, Pleasant. Come on, dev trait. 45, top 50 player in the 6th round. And we get the dev trait. Let's go. You know what? Alec Ingold, when you start with the Dolphins roster, they have a fullback. So maybe a fullback's like a missing piece of this offense. We have the best athlete fullback in Josh Woods. Pretty damn athletic. Couple elites there as well. Not the best blocking, but he's a top 100 player. And of course, we get a dev trait fullback. Would have much rather that be, you know, our first round pick, but we'll take as many dev traits as we can get. Take a look at our final draft. Everyone above a 70, so it's, you know, maybe not as heavy on the dev traits as we'd like for that to be like an S tier class, but this certainly is an A tier class. 72 dev trait fullback, 74 dev trait corner. Man, glad we were able to get both. Knowing that we, you know, it was kind of a coin toss up here. We went with the 71 normal. That would have been a bummer, but some great depth of the DB room. We get some depth at wide receiver. We get a day one starting center, 76 with a dev trait. And then we get Sanchez, a successor depth in case, you know, Minkah Fitzpatrick continues to regress or contract negotiations come up. We got to be prepared in case we don't win this rebuild and we got to revisit at some point. Look at the rest of the class. Whoa, Jerry Anderson, 82 edge rusher, going pick 2 to the Bears. Hell of a pick. I want to look at that other center. Oh, technically we're ahead, but Hugh Hamels was the other center that was interesting. He also has a dev trait. Hopefully it's just a start. It's not like the second coming of Jason Kelce or anything. And, okay, we can live with that. So here we go. Year 5, Super Bowl or bust time. I think certainly going with the house rules of like having to make player scheme fits to kind of counteract the XP. So it hurt us a little bit because Bob, Miller, and Baker, all these guys, farthest thing from an agile scheme fit. So like their ratings, they're probably all 4 or 5 points overall lower than if I was just saying, screw it, let's chase the highest rating possible. You know, all things considered, given the fact that we traded up, we were aggressive to get Eli Stowers, he definitely hasn't been a game changer for the offense. He's been solid, but nothing special, which kind of stings a little bit. Our run game was elite last year. Still, somehow Achane didn't get a superstar dev. So, like, I'm done with that noise. We said we had, what was it, the second best run game in the league. Didn't get any benefit out of it. So I'm back. I'm good being back to like a pass heavy team. We're gonna go St. Brown in the slot. We're gonna have Waddle and Cam Coleman on the outside, and a superstar to LaNorris Sellers in a contract year looking to get paid. I'm expecting this offense to be very, very good. Should be on paper, and we've seen McDaniel have a top 10 offense across the board. Defensively, yeah, we get Hunter on a mercenary 1-year deal at pass rush. Our rest of our linebackers are on point. We get a successor in place for Minkah, who's starting to show age a little bit, but Minkah and Kilgore is probably one of the best safety duos in the league. We added Noah Williams in a secondary room that Nate Wiggins is the reigning defending DB of the year. Ponce can play in that nickel role, one of the best nickels in the league. We got some young DBs as well that have some upside to their game. And then Chisholm, the superstar first-round pick from a year ago. Him and Grant, two of our best pass rushers. I'd like to see maybe, you know, the edge rushers do a little bit more, not everything coming from the interior, but across the board. Last year we went 10-7. This needs to be like a 12-13 win team. We're looking pretty good. Mid-season, 6-1. Only 4 wins away from equaling our best record to date. But because it's year 5 without a Super Bowl, we need to talk about contracts because they're, you know, I don't feel great that we're going to get it done here. $123 million. We got to pay LaNorris Sellers. That is our guy, $359 million, which leaves us with 65 remaining, which is still not terrible. We got Kilgore, very special player, can play, you know, I think when you look at like where we're going to save some funds at, you know what I'm saying? We got Hunter on a rental, that he's going to go. Jordan Brooks, he's going to go. Miller, frustrating because we've developed him so much, but like replaceable. Stowers has not earned a contract. Now, David Bailey has $95 million. Let's see if we can get him on a 146. We can. But now, if we don't win, we're going to be inheriting a rebuild where our salary cap is terrible. So that worked out well. We go 13-4. We get the 1 seed. We get our second straight AFC East title. And I guess we just needed St. Brown. Put St. Brown in the slot. Ends up leading the league in yards and touchdowns. Look at the offensive numbers. Not something we haven't seen before. Not S tier, right? Like overall, very good offense. The fact that we have that balance. But I think the biggest change, we bring in Mike Tomlin. We were consistently having a bottom 5 defense, at least in terms of points allowed and passing yards allowed. And Mike Tomlin coming in, bringing in a probably Hall of Fame coach. I think it's fair to say, right? Look at how he got this group in to order. Figured it out. LaNorris Sellers, top 5 in yards, the most passing touchdowns in the league. 43 touchdowns to 4 picks on 4,200 yards. We get 1,200 yards from Achane. We get just disgusting numbers from Amon-Ra St. Brown. 86 catches, 1,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, just under 1,000, almost 30 yards away from having 2,000-yard receiver, which is always kind of the goal. But 12 touchdowns for Jaylen Waddle. That is a very good season. Coleman was solid as well. Defensively, we get 12.5 sacks from David Bailey. We kind of had to pay him. 12 sacks from the mercenary Danielle Hunter. 8.5 from Kenneth Grant. 5 from Baldwin. 4 from Chisholm. That kind of stings a little bit. Didn't see him regressing. And our interception numbers, not good at all. But I will take defensive rankings over box score stats every day of the week. Sellers, runner-up for MVP, losing out to Joe Burrow. What did he do? I'm not even going to complain because Joe Burrow usually will put up something disgusting. 41-7. Yeah, I guess he had more passing yards, but I don't quite know about that one. I'm going to say a little bit of a robbery. Coach of the Year goes to Mike McDaniel. Sick. Offensive Player of the Year and Wide Receiver of the Year, I'm going to assume, go to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And we also have Quarterback of the Year going to LaNorris Sellers. So if we can find a way to make the Super Bowl, Sellers will almost certainly be an X factor going into that game. As this is the final year of the rebuild, we might as well look at our player stats and what they've been able to achieve. And hopefully we can add Super Bowl champion to the end of their career by the end of this video. 15,000 yards passing, 144 touchdowns, to 37 picks for LaNorris Sellers. And anytime you do draft like a niche quarterback like this, the fact we knew we weren't going to have a heavy scrambling offense for the most part. Like, there are definitely better landing spots, I think, from a playbook standpoint. And I mean, this is within itself maybe the issue still with the Madden 26 playbooks. It has got a little bit better. Little bit. But I think in instances like this, like when you clearly bring in a scrambling quarterback to a playbook that doesn't have a scrambling quarterback, like, that's where you see just still the glaring issues. Like, this offense should have adapted to the skill set of my quarterback. Achane was awesome. Very consistent, very solid. 7,600 yards, 49 touchdowns. Obviously, St. Brown was immense for the 1 year that he was here. We're just under 10,000 yards, 77 touchdowns for Waddle. Coleman was a good pick for us. 2,900 yards, 23 touchdowns. Unfortunately, I mean, like, Stowers never really became much more. Like, he was like our Mike Gesicki. Defensively, Jordan Brooks, well over 1,000 tackles. Same with Minka. From a sack standpoint, David Bailey, 41.5, 32.5 for Kenneth Grant. And on interception standpoint, we got 28 for Minka, 14 for Wiggins. We got most of those with us. You know, pretty good numbers across the board. Wish we would have had the opportunity to bring in Mike Tomlin sooner. It was the Battle of Florida here in our first round here. Expectations, Super Bowl or bust. 13-4. There is not an element that the Jags, from a roster standpoint, is better than us. But pretty damn good rankings. This is going to be the number 3 defense against the number 2 defense. Their pass yards, rush yards per game are a lot better than ours. But our offense, as a general, is a lot better than theirs. I'm a little nervous, though. That is a pretty good defense to get looking for our first playoff win. All right. Home game doesn't give us great confidence. We were the home team last year when we crashed and burned against the Chargers in the wildcard round. But let's see if we can break the curse. We got Mike Tomlin, who's won a lot of playoff games. I think our defense is going to be ready, but our offense, man, just come on. LaNorris Sellers, arguably the MVP. This is the playoff run to go prove you got robbed for that MVP trophy. And I don't think, not scoring. We got to put up 30. 17-14. Got a good drive there. We stall out, give Jacksonville a chance. But think of that. D'Angelo Pons, a huge interception. And we're able to win an ugly one. I'm not going to hold only 17 points scored for our explosive offense against it because we're going up against the third best defense in the league. A win is a win. And I'm very happy with this one. 17-14. Take a look at the stats here. LaNorris Sellers was uber efficient with the football. 75% completion percentage, almost 300 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Run game was not particularly great. Shadow Cam Coleman stepping up. Amon-Ra St. Brown with a 70-yard, I'm going to assume touchdown, which is badass. Defensively, Pons with the pick. Only 1 sack total on the team. Not great, but shout out D'Angelo Pons. Very much deserved. Pons gets Defensive Player of the Week. Offensive Player of the Week going to C.J. Stroud, which we're taking on the Texans. Super Bowl on the line here in year 5 against the 11-6 Texans. Slight advantage on the defensive side. Maybe get a little insider knowledge for having Daniil Hunter on our team. Top 10 offense, top 10 rushing offense. Defense is pretty good. The number 1 rushing defense. They get tricky opponent like CJ Stroud, went for 40 touchdowns on the year. They have Stingley. They have Will Anderson. A lot of studs. This will be a tough matchup. But hopefully advantage, randomness, whatever, goes to the home team here at the Hard Rock Stadium. All right. I'm playing at least one drive in this game. Maybe I'm hoping that we get a big enough lead that it's just kind of us running up the score. But there's no fucking way I'm going through 5 years with a freak of nature like LaNorris Sellers and not kind of feeling what this freak offense that we've built can actually do and operate. Now, I love the fact that we have yet to be across midfield at any point in this game. There we go. Nice little touchdown there. Oh, here we go. Here's where we can come in. Can we make the difference? 3rd and 9. Go inside attack. Nice little slant there. St. Brown, Stowers. Let's go St. Brown. Make a miss. 99 overall. Sellers, 150 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. I'm going to finish. This is going to be my one-time op, and I'm going to finish this drive and try to make it a 3-point game, but I think we're fucked. If we've barely been across midfield this whole game, there's not a whole lot I don't think we can do. But there we go. We get great time and protection from the offensive line, and that puts this one on the 1-yard line, which let them punch in. Ooh, quick turnaround, 21-17. Okay, lots of things. 4-point lead. 3rd down. Yes! Okay. Little kick. Very slight kick in the ass there. I feel like we would have won that game if I didn't even hop in. But I had to feel what Sellers and company could do. And the Dolphins are AFC champions. LaNorris Sellers, not his finest performance here on the day. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 300 yards. Run game, Achane. I mean, he did get 2 touchdowns, but 17 yards. Good God, not good enough. St. Brown was good. Cam Coleman was good. Waddle was good, 63 yards and a touchdown. Defensively, 3 sacks, a hat trick for David Bailey. 2 sacks for Kenneth Grant. Couple picks there by the old heads on defense. And the Dolphins in year 5 are headed to the Super Bowl. Ooh, that's an interesting matchup. The 9-8 Carolina Panthers. Okay, top 5 defense. There's no fucking way we lose to a team that is the 28th offense. No way. I don't care how Cinderella they've been on their side of the bracket. 7 seed, beating Tampa, beating the Niners, beating the Cowboys. It ends here. There's no way this super team that we've built loses this fucking game. LaNorris Sellers against Bryce Young, and this is a newly X-factored LaNorris Sellers. Which, I mean, for what little dual threats I've played with in Madden, you know, dual threat quarterbacks suck until you get some abilities on them. They're just, they have 0 attributes behind the line of scrimmage to actually make them feel explosive. And someone like LaNorris Sellers, I think that was the biggest issue a couple years ago with Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson's stats made no sense how slow he was, and it's just because everything for a scrambling quarterback is kind of tied to abilities. I get it. But boy, oh boy, I hope we can cop in here at some point and let LaNorris Sellers loose. Carolina is winning. No! Okay, we'll equal that one up, 7-7. We'll get ready to go in the slow sim here in a second. Oh, that's brutal. Okay, insta score. Either defense. I mean, we're not crushing this here. Made the field goal. So we'll go normal. Play-by-play. 17-17 ball game. I like our defense. They got Ahmad Hardy at running back, so he's a stud from Missouri. T-Mac, Bryce. I mean, they got players. No disrespect to Carolina. They got very good players. Roughing the passer. Hey! Dinkins! Who the fuck is that? Calvin Dinkins comes in. And they have to settle for a field goal. All right, come on, boys. Let's make the most of it. LaNorris Sellers to St. Brown for 8 yards. 3rd and 2. Let's go. Cam Edwards, running back 2. Why are our jobbers? Like the job squad out here is making plays. 2nd and 10. 3-yard penalty. Automatic first down. I like that. 2nd and 8. Throwaway. 3rd and 8 at midfield. Let me help them out a little bit. Just a little bit. Nothing crazy. Oh, yes, he is X Factor, WR Sellers. Oh, baby. Just safe grab it. Safe grab it. Keep the drive going. Very not great stat line here for our very good quarterback. Achane for 5 yards. Another third down. You got to get this one, boys. 3rd and 1. I can't help you. I can't hold your hand every single time. Derek Brown with a big sack. 2nd and 17. We got a 3rd and 11 on the 27. And it's St. Brown for... I'm going for this. You cowards! We're gonna go a pass play, and we're gonna tuck and run with Sellers.
Let's go now. Ready.
Fuck! There's no way. Come on, give me the ball back. 2nd and 7. 3rd and 9. 3rd and 9. Bail me out. Bail me out at some point. 2nd and 11. 2-minute warning. 3rd and 7. Come on. Yes. I gotta help them. Gotta help the boys. Can't. They would have been at least tied. Go LaNorris. Let's go. Gotta get at least in field goal range. If not, I'm gonna outright win this for these fucking guys. I don't even care if we're gonna put an asterisk on this rebuild. Boom. Cam Coleman. Nice little slant. Oh shit, we have no timeouts. Okay, that's fine. No huddle. Clear out. Stowers in the end zone. We got plenty of time. Plenty of time. Look at the protection we're getting from the offensive line. St. Brown! 17, no huddle! No huddle! Holding Y! Come on! 13, 12. We got at least 2 plays left. Go, go, go. Yes! LaNorris Sellers is in! Fuck yes! I'll put an asterisk right next to it. I did not want to return to this rebuild with the state of the salary cap. And we can't lose to a team that is not deserving of winning a Super Bowl. Like 30th ranked offense. Barely above 500. But in my notes, I'm putting a little asterisk next to it that I pretty much had to backpack spoon feed this successful rebuild. It's going to be noted in the record books. Fuck yes, LaNorris Sellers does it himself, puts the team on his back, breaks the curse, and Dolphins are Super Bowl champions. In a game that really shouldn't have been close. That's honestly pretty damn bad that we could not beat the brakes off them. That was as good of a Super Bowl roll as you're going to get. Baby, that was sick, though. Had to be one guy. I don't think there's someone I would rather see make a big-time play than LaNorris Sellers, who was, held in check for most of this game. Achane over 100 yards. Our run game was a difference maker for sure. St. Brown over 100 yards defensively. Hunter with 2 sacks. The mercenary David Bailey getting involved as well. Team effort. Shouldn't have been this close, but at the end of the day, the right team won. And there you go, fellas. Another successful, realistic rebuild in the books. Oh, man, we got a superstar fullback. We got St. Brown back up to a superstar. Sellers got his X factor. Defensively, from like a dev trait standpoint, didn't really get much, but it's a good rebuild, man. Really, really good rebuild. Fun rebuild, challenging rebuild. And I hope if you're watching this as a Dolphin fan, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, thank you very much for Jalen Phillips. I hope it works out for both of us. Hope with that 3rd round pick, you guys get your next franchise quarterback, and I hope the Eagles get a double-digit sack guy that can stay healthy. That'd be fantastic. But this is another successful Madden 26 realistic rebuild. A little bit harder, though. We're now using 2 realistic draft classes, which, you know, if you've watched any of my regular rebuilds, I've dominated. So now the realistic classes are a little bit challenging, a little bit more difficult because I'm not finding the same studs, same hit rate. But we're using real players, and shout out this man right here, LaNorris freaking Sellers, Super Bowl champion. With that being said, fellas, if it is your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. Please let me know in the comment section below which team you guys want to see next in our newest Madden 26 realistic rebuild. And until next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace and I love you. Have a good one.